Good morning, good afternoon. Just want to make sure this works here. Is it working? Just want to make sure this works here. I think everything's working. Is it working? Just want to make sure this works here. I think everything's working. Is it working? Just want to make sure this works here. I think everything's. Got a late start. Late start today. I've been feeling a little out of sorts. So I'll just wait for people to trickle in. Eat my awesome breakfast. Always can't go wrong with some frosted chocolate donuts from the Hostess clan, to accompany my vanilla Coke, because this physique is not going to build itself, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I could go to the gym, work out, but, there's other ways to ensure your body's in the right condition for gaming. I promise I won't chew into the mic. Probably have to edit out this front part. Life throws you curveballs. You make curveball. Aid. Larry, Wayne. Well, that's weird. There we go. You ever just have one of those days, weeks, months are just a little off? It's me. If you have some breakfast, we can break fast together. All right. I don't want to prolong this anymore. Let's get started, shall we? Start out with some of the exciting stuff, shall we? No. Paizo had a couple promotions to the leadership team. Maggie Gallagher and Rai Kong. I think I've seen Maggie's name before. Might have been brought on when things were a mess, when they were unionizing. Not sure. Looks like she's going to be taking over as the VP of People and Culture. And then Mr. Raj Kong, Mr. Mrs. them there, Rai Kong, not Raj, Rai, is now VP of Technology, reporting to the president. There you go. there you go. There, a couple promotions. Woo! Yeah, all right. Woo! I don't know who was in those roles before. Maybe nobody. I don't know. Maggie's been with Paizo in January, since January of 2022. I thought she was there more recent or longer than that. All right. There you go. Excite, I know. Mm. 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 Not this. Why is this down here? I think I know what this is too. Anyways. Deanna Jones Award, or Diana Jones Award, I guess. I'm always confused. I should probably ask Mr. Forbeck on how to pronounce this. I think many are Diana Jones, even though it derives from the Indiana Jones role-playing game. The finalists for the 2022 awards have been announced. Always interesting. The first nomination is Across-RPG C, which is C stands for Southeast Asia tabletop RPGs. Excuse me. A website newsletter promoting Southeast Asian games. So that's what this is here. I have to admit, I've not been to this website. Very kind of Pinterest theme going on. So looks like got a little stumble upon theme maybe going on where it's like you hit the next thing, it loads it up. Yeah, a lot of ARC. Seen this one kickstarted, so check that out. The second one is, I think it's Ajit George. Ajit, I think I've seen his work on Candlekeep. Like the princess, Wayne says. Yeah, might be. So Ajit George, I've seen him tweet about it because I think he was the lead guy person on that project. That is a project of all underrepresented individuals. I did not know his background, but I sure do now. Because his website, this is a pretty good kind of individual website. I like it. And it highlights who he is. So looks like he's done a TEDx at the College of William and Mary. So his, at the bottom here, is kind of his areas of expertise. Probably can't see that very well. Which include nonprofit organization planning, strategic project planning, fundraising, strategy consultation, diversity and inclusion consultation, public speaking and workshops, and game writing and world building. So he, an individual. That's up for the Deanna Jones Award. I'm going to say Deanna. It's supposed to be Diana, but being a rebel like that. So if you want to know about Ajit. And then Haunted West. Mr. Spivey's project. And you'll know Chris Spivey from Harlem Unbound. I think this might be the second time Chris's project has been recognized. I thought they recognized Harlem Unbound 1 year as well. So Haunted West is up from, and Chris's studio is Darker Hue Studios. So Haunted West is a Weird West tabletop role-playing game set after the American Civil War. It's about hope through struggle. It is a game that amplifies the voices of the often overlooked people of the Old West, the people who have been whitewashed by history. Venture into an alternate history that imagines a post-American Civil War world where Reconstruction flourishes for many years instead of meeting its abrupt end. And imagine a new reality with greater opportunities for all who inhabit the United States. Step out your door into the Haunted West, but beware, it isn't for the faint of heart. You know, Chris's Haunted West, there's Deadlands, there's the one from Chaosium, and then there's Dave Beatty's Weird Frontiers. A lot of like that theme or after the Civil War West. So if you like that genre and that theme, hey Eric, then there's quite a few to choose from, which is nice. This is a beast. 800 pages, man. 800-page RPG. Wowee! It's $85, rightfully so. I don't know the mechanics. Does anybody know the mechanics on this? The Ouroboros system, a modular, 3-tiered system powering your adventures using a D100, degrees of success, and a unique Jax mechanic. Very cool. And then, of course, last but not least, I shouldn't say of course, but last but not least, Mothership. Mothership has been recognized. A stunning space horror RPG fueled by its community of contributors. Oh, that's pretty cool opening. I like the quote that said D&D killer. I mean, quite profound. What are we looking for, Fat? Eric, you can't correct yourself with the same incorrection. Deanna Jones nominees, dude. Hey, everybody, let me just stop and rewind this just for Eric. Just for Eric, though. Deanna Jones Award nominees. So that's it for the Deanna Jones Awards. I could have flagged that, but I'll let it go. Oh. Any bets on what goes, what wins? I'm not gonna. I don't know. I hope whoever wins or doesn't, that everybody just accepts it. RPG hobby. Oh man, we'll see. I don't know if anybody knew it. Anybody remember what last year's was? Brian in the park. Good to see you, Brian. Is that chocolate marshmallow cookies? No, my friend. It's the Hostess chocolate frosted. I like the complimentary taste it brings to my. It brings out the essence of my vanilla Coke, sir. The flavor of the vanilla. It gets fickle. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Fickle is fickle. It's putting it lightly. Oh, man. Breakfast of the Champions. My buddy Jeff. Some of you probably have heard of Jeff. Some of you might not have. Jeff has been a longtime friend of mine. He is a character. Let me tell you. I love that guy. And growing up, he must have been like 13 years old. I think Jeff had two older brothers, and one quite a bit older. But I think, I don't know if he got this at a garage sale or maybe it was one of his brothers. It might be like some weird garage sale or something. But he had this like ugly mustard colored sweatshirt. Like it was dark mustard. Like just this weird, it's just a shitty looking color. And it had the Schlitz beer, Schlitz, spelled out in its cool font, Schlitz. Breakfast of Champions on it. Jeff wore that at the age of like 13. Oh man, I'm sorry. Just because of Brian's comment, that just brings back that sweatshirt. You don't often remember a specific thing a friend of yours wore growing up. But I do, because that one was always a fun one. God, and I think he was maybe a little older, maybe 15 or 16 or something. But Schlitz, Breakfast of Champions. Yeah. Alrighty then. Too funny. Let's go into crowdfunding news, shall we? I'm going to be on crowdfunding RPG podcast on Sunday. That will probably drop next week. Early. It's produced by RPPR. I'd been on there previously with Michael and Larry. Looking forward to that. So going through some crowdfunding. I've got some that might be picked out. Some probably are aware of. So these things provided by EN World. Thank you, EN World, for letting me just pick off your site and look at what's going on. First one up on crowdfunding, Vermin 2047, Survival Kit, a post-apocalyptic RPG in 2047. System, Totem System. It's for a core. It's in pounds, 80 pounds. plus shipping and handling for the PDFs, art prints, dice, GM screen, survival kit, box, and more. The apocalypse came, and it turned the natural order upside down as rats, plants, and insects mutated and developed a ravenous hunger in the blink of an eye. They moved to the top of the food chain. The world went sideways in a short time, and depending on your gaming preferences, life is either set back to pre-industrial, making it harder to survive, or the world has been altered in massive supernatural ways. This RPG offers both options, coming from Studio Agate, a French RPG company behind it's euros, not pounds. My fault. Sean should probably know his monetary denomination signs. The French company behind Shadows of Esterin and Fate Forge. So if you're familiar with those two products, it'll tell you what their production is like. This post-apocalyptic RPG uses D10 dice pool options to emphasize how you want to play more realistically or with more big screen sci-fi elements. It opens up a nice bit of survival horror for your gaming table. This is a quick campaign coming in at roughly a week. It's the kickoff boxed set that they hope generates a large enough audience to warrant turning this French RPG into a full English line, using a different type of post-apocalypse brought to life with beautiful artwork. It's likely to find the audience. That said, the campaign ends the day after this article goes live. Holy cow. So it did succeed. I hope it's not just like, I hope we can get this after the fact. I've seen some French horror films, man. That's no joke. Collaborative game emphasizes players' decisions and the collective actions of their characters. Interesting. Oh, there you go. So keep on the lookout for that. It is, when's it coming? It's funded on the 16th. Rothkeller Gaming and Dining Table. We'll have to check that out. I don't know when the delivery is. Yeah, I'll get this out of here. All right. Over the Next Hill. 5 plugin settlements for 5th edition from End Publishing. £7 for the PDF. 30 pages of 5 small towns for your 5e campaign. This is a vital resource. You'll get NPCs, locations, and of course plot hooks unique to the hamlets. Villages are divided between bases for your PCs to operate from for several adventures, or even a whole campaign to towns to adventure in. For two whole campaigns, 2 towns to adventure in. To give that contrast, River Reeve. It's a fishing village about an untamed forest. I cannot read today. Perfect jumping off point for a big wilderness campaign. On the other hand, Barseldorf is a village of doppelgangers, which could be considered less of a long-term stay and more of a short-term slay. Plague vermin. Hey, Laramie. Dorigo, what's up, John? Next one, See Issue X, a role-playing game for 1 or more players about superheroes and their sprawling backstories. From Chris Longhurst. It's core book, £10 for the PDF of the game. Your superhero in this game is as much about your comic book backstory as anything. Using a deck of cards, you're going to craft your backstory, combining elements to tell how you got through 100 issues of continuity. Along the way, you'll generate so many odd elements from the story prompts that you'll never be able to reconcile all of them, and that's the fun. To sum it up, I have to quote this line from the campaign page. When they bring the hero back from the grave because of their shared love of board games, you know you're working with high-grade, top-quality Cape comic nonsense. That is the heart of this RPG. Go zany like your superhero Animaniacs. It's a solo RPG and a group RPG. And its best feature of them all, it's encouraged to do both styles of play with the same character. In other words, do some solo adventures, then teams ups so you can have quite the backstory, much of it without internal consistency, but so much fun to tell. Okay, cool. All right. Coffee and Chaos, an original system core rule kit. It's like small form. Running a modern-day cafe when all of your previous characters walk in for a bite. Then hilarity and role-playing ensue. Using an original system, you either create new characters or adapt existing ones, turning the powers narrative instead of mathematical and make with the laughs. This is for mid-campaign sessions when the players put everything together for a night of gaming comedy. Yeah. Yeah. So Coffee and Chaos. Let's see. Adventurers Agency. For 5th edition system, or a 5th edition system, adventure module. $25 for the PDF of the book and the digital maps. Here's the pitch. Player canceled on you. This campaign setting has you covered for your next 5e campaign. If you want a world where players come and go and it fits into the narrative, try out Adventurers Agency and their world, Pratea. Here, absences are part of the expectation. No longer will there be pressure to show up. Players being players adds to the atmosphere. In addition, the book adds some new mechanical options ranging from classes and ancestries to a system for ley line related options. If you need a setting that keeps the group going even as it changes week to week, check out the campaign page to download the free primer. Yeah. Mythos Monsters for Pathfinder. For 1st and 2nd edition. 80 plus Eldritch Evils for Pathfinder 1e, 2e from Legendary Games. You're just legendary. $15 for the PDF of the 2nd edition version of the book. That's the most popular pledge, sorry. Looking for over 80 mythos monsters inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and August Derleth? They've got you covered. There you go. Well funded. $500 goal. Raised $15K. Till Death Do Us Part. From Gaming Ballistic. System is the Fantasy Trip. Need a solo adventure for Steve Jackson Games' The Fantasy Trip? RPG adventure from third-party publisher Gaming Ballistic. This is an interesting option that uses the In the Labyrinth rules from TFT for a GM-less experience. Escort a wedding party. It's a simple hook, but as a solo adventure. It might be an interesting turn. What made me report on the campaign is the positive response it's received so far. Hundreds of backers are grabbing this solo TFT adventure from a third-party publisher. Anybody play the Fantasy Trip? That is like the precursor of GURPS, I believe. It's kind of flown under my radar for years. Hand me a coffee. Chaos is just a bonus prize. Yeah. A Game to Remember. Volume 1. From Work Warthogs. System neutral. Sourcebook. $25 for the PDF. Most popular pledge. Do you need 50 one-page game session arcs? All system neutral to cut down on GM prep time. If you need a one-shot, a kickoff adventure, or you're having GM block, this book offers options to get you through tonight's session. These include easy-to-skim ideas, opening narration, and at least one NPC location and treasure. On the facing page opposite of each of the adventures is a one-page map with a section to record notes. If you need hooks and crooks to fill in the night's gaming, this may fit that bill. That is interesting. It's not funded yet. It's got 2 weeks to go. That might be interesting. I don't know. Traveler Con USA 2022 Tabletop Gaming Convention is on Kickstarter in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, October 14th to the 16th. $158 for a full weekend pass. Now, here's a if you're a fan of the Traveler RPG, here's the convention for you. This is a celebration of all things Traveler, one of the oldest RPGs on the market. This year's theme is Psionics, which gives you something to think on. If you've enjoyed Traveler for decades or you're curious to try it out, you're free mid-October, and in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the convention may be worth the Traveler. Well, there you go. I'm mixed on the Kickstarter for a con, but I get it. They're trying to get money up front for reserving the hall and stuff like that, so strapped for cash. And you're reserving people, right? That's all of the ones that I found here. There's other ones out there being done. I'm surprised. I don't know, maybe it was on the last week's version, but the big one, not the big one. Let me see. Hold on. Marlowe's Meyer and Hot Springs Island RPG Hex Crawls. This one, they might have done this like last week, I don't know, but so if you have never gotten the dark of Hot Springs Island, and you are a fan of hex crawls, I would highly recommend that book. Hold on a second. It's a good one. I liked it. A lot of people on our Discord liked it. I bought it. And so with this Kickstarter, they're reprinting this. So you get an opportunity to get the hard copy. I don't know if that means they're just completely out of the hard copies or not, but you can also get Marlowe's Mire. The nice thing about this campaign is when you get a quality product, but you're not gonna pay through the nose. So for example, for $20 you get a PDF of the Dark of Marlowe's Mire, the field guide for Hot Springs Island, as well as the Dark of Hot Springs Island, and a print it yourself World Builder's Notebook, which is this is the World Builder's Notebook. And if you've got one or something similar, then great. I showed this off when I got mine. I bought a couple from the website. It's journal, one ribbon, and there are groups of pages. Like there'll be a hex. Well, let's see. You get like all hexes. And then on the other side are dots, a dot page for bullet journaling or what have you. And then you have regions, kind of a region hex area, then area to like make notes on. So it's got sections in it. So it's nice. So they give you the printable pages that you could probably print and then bind yourself. That can come in handy. So for $20, that's what you get. If you put in for $25, you get a physical copy of the Dark of Marlowe's Mire and then all the PDFs. But if you want like everything in print, I think where's the print? For $75, you get the Hot Springs Island and the Dark of Marlowe's and then all the PDFs. But Hot Springs Island is, what is it? It's got an index, and it's 192 pages, black and white. And I think somebody in the chat might realize, like, here's the inside cover. It's fantastic. This is the only real color part of the book. And it's based, I remember the rule set. You can use it for anything, any system, but I thought it was inherent to something specific. Here it is. You guys know, somebody's going to beat me to it. Tables and hexes. So if you're not a hex crawler, then it may not be for you. But I mean, it's great. I would highly recommend it. So it has Hot Springs Island is an old school fantasy X crawl with Tarantino attitude. It's a system neutral product featuring 270 intriguing locations, 7 morally complex factions, 87 dastardly and helpful NPCs, 448 deadly random encounters, and 300 distinctive and problematic magic items. Many people have run this with different rule sets, obviously. But I thought that some of the stats for some of the monsters fell under a particular system, but apparently not. Check it out. Anyways, that's a Kickstarter. I haven't gotten into because I have the Dark of Hot Springs Island. The Dark of Marlowe's Mire is a little bit, I think, smaller. It's a 2-mile, 4 2-mile hexes. The core of the island is a low-lying peat bog, commonly called the Bone Mire. Here it is. So 12 adventure locations, which are 4 hexes, on the island of Marlowe's Mire. 2 mapped sublocations, 3 adventure locations on the plane of water in a place called Crimson Vein Reef. An extraplanar point crawl in the Palace of 1,000 Stone Faces. Information on 2 major factions. Additional information about other factions on the Swordfish Islands and how they tie into Marlowe's Mire. Detailed plants, monsters, NPCs, and more. So you probably won't be disappointed if you get in on this. It's well funded. $10,000 goal, $43,000. This is what I'm bringing to the guys' attention on Sunday when I talk about crowdfunding. AWOL Trooper, one of the guys that had hung out on our Discord for a while and would show up on occasion in the chat, he was running DCC using Hot Springs Island, I believe. Think. So. Yeah. I didn't really plan this out, if you could tell. That's why I had to wander off. I have the good books usually on my shelf behind me. That's why I was like, man, I had 2 of them, and I hope I didn't ship both of them away. Why do they push 2-player guides? You can give, if you got 4 players, 2 can split versus having one roaming around the table. Verdell says, love the Frazetta-like cover. I don't usually grab physical version because I read too much. Don't have room, but things like Forbidden Lands and this make me break my rule. Yes, and I've heard people run the Dark Hot Springs Island using Forbidden Lands. It hadn't slipped my mind, but I figure I'd get used to the core setting for Forbidden Lands before delving into one that. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so I figured, what else? I'll check it out. Nubis, good to see you. Yeah. Much empathy for those that have to deal with shipping and get, odd logistical things to get some of these products. Were spoiled in the U.S., just like our fuel costs. We've been spoiled for years. So, there you go. Nubis says, yeah, just tiny bit of hex crawling rules. Did you use that running free marches? I don't know free marches, dude. So no, I have not. Free League, I have not used it for. But there you go. That's that. Let's see what else we got here, shall we? Crowdfunding, Deanna Jones, Vermin, blah, 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 blah. So, RPG print news. from Ian World. We'll just, what the heck, go down that. Ruins of Symbaroum is now out in a boot. For the D's and D's. So if you got, I think I mentioned this before, right? We've talked about this and hashed it about a little bit. So if you have a 5th edition party that is not wanting to play Symbaroum native, here's a good compromise. Zagrave is going to run, I think, a one-shot, a 5th edition Symbaroum, or AKA Ruins of Symbaroum. So if it's Ruins of Symbaroum, it is the 5th edition version. It comes with 3 books. Each is $39. Free League doesn't put out garbage, so they're going to be good books as far as quality goes, and the artwork is going to be coming from the originals. It's a little hard to chew if you've got Symbaroum, like Core and a couple others, and then you got to buy these if you want the 5th edition. You don't have to, but then you got to do the conversioning and stuff like that. So yeah, I haven't delved into this. I don't know if I will. One, I'd have to have a 5th edition group. The Jeff group's big on 5th edition. This would be probably something I would consider running for them, if given the opportunity. But if I'm not going to run 5th, then I probably won't pick it up. But that's out. Got some of these. What's some of these? Shepherd's Bane. Shepherd's Bane, 5th edition, Swords and Wizardry. The Tower of Thieves for 5th edition. Tower of Dead Thieves. Tower of Dead Thieves 5th, S&W. Orcus and Winter Wonderland for 5th edition and Swords S&W. And then Chaos Rising for both. Who put these out? Frog God. Yeah. Duh. Right on the books. Frog God is notorious for doing multiple systems for product lines. So you get to choose whether you want 5th edition or you want to stick with OSR. So they're trying they're catering to 2 camps. By Pete Spahn. Pete's been doing stuff in the business for quite some time, and a lot of people appreciate his work. So if you are so inclined, you can pick up all those. They're $25 each. It says retail, but it doesn't. I don't know if that's in print or PDF or both. But Frog God Games, if you want to look at any of those guys crank out a ton of stuff. And if you're in the Swords and Wizardry, that's kind of one of the places you probably would want to frequent is Frog God. Carcass Crawler. Issue number 2. Is that it? God, I thought they've been doing more than that. So this is by Necrotic Gnome. Same one that puts out the Old School Essentials. So this is $10. Quality zine. If you're a big OSE fan, you probably already know about this. This one, it's got the Phase Elf and Wood Elf, an item-based encumbrance system. It's guidelines and prices for ends, jewelers, money changers, and traders, including a simple optional rule for haggling, hiring retainers, a set of tables for expediting character creation by randomly selecting starting gear, complete rules for high-tech energy blades, 8 monsters to include creepy undead, guardian constructs, and devious serpents, the tomb of Aum Farath, a mini adventure in the trap-filled ruins of a snake cult temple. Vice and optional guidelines for making traps in a fun and engaging part of the game. If you like zines and you're an OSE, that's the one to get. Book of Misery, Bucket Bash, The Martial Cult of Blood Knight Gaius, and Web World. all from Exalted Funeral. Systems include Merc Borg, Unique, Knave, and Unique. So those are out. You have to go to Exalted Funeral for those. Man, that place is, I don't know how much they stock, but regardless, they've got a lot of different products that they have to kind of, take in. I get their newsletter probably once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. And some of those things, man, they're in stock and they're gone. Like, hey, we got them in stock. Go to the website. They're gone. One left, So they move a lot of what they put out or advertise. Hey, Zero Theory. Good to see you. Sean, okay if I drop a link for a new Kickstarter Free League is a part of? Yeah, just got an early book at the video. Is up now. Yeah, by all means. We got a lot of Free League fans. Wizards Workshop Terrain by Cromlick. $79/$12. I don't know, it must be based on the item you get. It's a set, combines 7 different products from the Wizards Workshop range, 17 resin elements. Huh. Man. Those are cool. Cool diorama stuff, right? Freebies. Let's get to freebies. Thanks, Yen World, for freebies. Bundles, sales news. Freebies, pay what you want. D&D Beyond has some. Vecna Dossiers, a stat block for the archvillain Vecna. Before the betrayal of Cass that cost him his eye and hand, along with a brief summary of his history. Call that opportunity. Virtual dice. D&D Beyond also has a set of rainbow digital dice for use on the site that look like geodes and rainbow crystals inside in celebration of Pride Month. So you can get those from D&D Beyond. DM's Guild, some D&D stuff. I'm just perusing some of this. Here, I'll just put a link in the chat. You guys can check it out at your leisure. Just... Witching Metal posted Chain Reaction Blood Horizon, a role-playing game with its own system inspired by No Country for Old Men that places the players at the center of a drug deal in the desert that's gone wrong. Campaign tells the story of a chase across all of North America, assuming you can survive to get away. Fans of Call of Cthulhu can pick up the adventure of the Bloody Viscount's Return by Damien Ubaid Diaz. Set in 1920. Yeah. So, okay. Bundles, Onyx Publishing 10th anniversary. Over 400 titles from Onyx Path are available. Including titles of World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, Scion, Exalted, and more. Price varies, 50% off all titles. That's end date is... It's ended. June 13th. Hopefully you got in on that if you're a fan of the Onyx Path products. Charity bundles. Ugh, just so much, man. Bundle of holding for Free League. That's Mutineer Zero. I got in on that. That ends June 28th. It's got 2 bundles. I don't know if I had gone over that before or not. So if you like one of the Origin RPGs for Year Zero engine, here's Mutineer Zero core book. You get let's see. Yeah, core book. 2 zone sectors, and GM screen. And then you can also get Gene Lab Alpha, Lair of the Saurians, Dead Blue Sea, Die Meat Eaters Die. And then the second one includes Mechatron, Elysium, Eternal War, and Hotel Imperator, and the Grey Death. So yeah. Hey, Aragon. Excuse me. Jeez. What else is in here? Lots of stuff. Am I missing anything? Game Lord's Traveler Bundle has a huge collection of supplements to the classic space opera game. This has 4 days of this recording left. If you're a traveler person, here's one you probably want to get in on. Let's see. What else caught my eye? Dungeon Crawl Classics. That is over. I shouldn't even tease you with that one. That one's over. So there's a few that are on here that are done. There's one raising money for the shooting that happened in Buffalo, New York in May. Just a bunch of games. A ton. I went through the one for, was it trans rights or abortion rights? I can't remember the charity that they were supporting. It was a huge bundle. They met their $10,000 goal, I believe, which is saying something because some of these bundles are super cheap. Like, I think you can get in on this one for, well, I think you can get on most of them for almost pennies, like, considering. Excuse me, but they're just so much stuff. Look at that. That's a lot. So good for the folks that have contributed to those bundles, especially for raising money and things of that nature. So, oh, I think this was the one. Is this the one? Maybe this is a different one. There's a lot of these itch bundles are. Prime monthly bundle. Buy all these for like $15. Well, it's maybe these 3. Anyways, that's, I think, all I had for majority of the things to bring to your attention in the news. Forbidden Lands nitpick. I was always forgiving of the names in the past. I got my backers preview of Monster Book Frogman is named Amphibian. Like the God Huge, yeah. Imagine when you're buying a book that was done in one language and you translate it to another. Sometimes it's probably lost a little bit. Amphibian is a categorical name for a monster. What is it in Swedish? That's what you got to ask yourself. Let's see. English. What am I missing here? English to Swedish. There we go. Amphibian. Amphibie. There you go. Call it amphib. I don't know. My least favorite is whiner. Flim flim film flim flim. What's up, flim flim? Here's the thing, I'm gonna comment. This is an interesting comment, flim flim, when he mentions the Black Lives Matter scam alarm. Won't get into that piece, but only on wonder how much the money will reach the community. So I watched a TED Talk, and I was of this mindset where if you dedicated money to a charity, how much actually goes to the end purpose, right? So if you donate to cancer, how much does it go to like cancer research or versus operational costs? And it was a very intriguing, very eye-opening TED Talk. I don't remember the person. I'm sure you can find it. But it was essentially like United Way I kind of put into place here, not to get into that. But since, some of these bundles and some of these things that we do, even Gaming and BS, we have done charity, kind of donated money. BSRCon, we donated to the Cancer Society. So I think our hearts are in the right place. We want to, some of us probably we get product and the money goes to something else. It kind of, everybody wins. Right. But the TED Talk was on specifically how charities can get into that mindset themselves where they want to be careful of like operational costs, of course, right? If you're taking 90% of incoming funds and putting it towards rich C-level salaries for some reason, that might be a problem, so to speak. It doesn't look good, right? But the talk was on how we don't mind if you're in a quote unquote not even a quote unquote capitalist society where normal companies need certain things to operate and function. We just do, right? We all work for those companies. HR, legal, marketing, operations, finance are all part of the companies that put out the product or service. And if you're not a fan of capitalism, well, then you're gonna knock them all day long for all kinds of reasons. But ideally, you have to have those things in place, and you have to earn enough money to keep those things in place and put out your product and service. So when you talk about charities, we scrutinize the charities when they try to do just that, right? who's the administrator or who's the ops person who picks up the phone and takes the charity money and puts it into the bank, and where do they put it in the bank, or where do they invest it so they can extend it so that they can donate it to the cause, and how much money do they give to the cause versus how much they give to the people that have to do all the work behind the scenes. Like, hey, we want 5 people to run programs to raise money. We have to pay those 5 people because those 5 people need to eat. It can't all be done for free. But some are volunteers. So you try to get volunteers to help out with that so that your fundraising efforts are higher than what you're like. It's just very interesting. And I was like, you know what? It just provides a different perspective on charity. Now, there's bad charities. The bad charities, I would say, are the ones that you have to watch out for, like fraud, embezzlement, personal funding. And I know what you're talking about when it happens to be with the Black Lives Matter controversy. Again, don't want to get into that. But those are like, there's insert charity here that might have gotten some hot water because it did some unethical things. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the ones that are ethical in what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to do, but they're overly scrutinized because somebody would say, well, 80% of the funds that they bring in go to operational stuff, and then the community really doesn't see a lot of that money. And I get it. And if it's a charity and it's your money, then you deem what's worthy of your money. It's your money, right? Totally get it. I would almost go to say, hey, you want to help out and do some charity work? Maybe it's not money. You donate your time. You go to a food pantry, or you go to a place that feeds the homeless, and you put food on their plates for, a couple days. Whatever it is. It's always a personal choice, whatever you decide to do. But it was just, and that's not a knock on the comment by any means. Flim flam. It was just, I get it. Totally understandable. But yeah, I thought that I was very much how much money goes to the end people. And if it's not enough, then I'm not going to give them any money. But if you don't give them money and they don't have these operational people in place, then the charity doesn't run well. And that's probably that becomes a problem in and of itself. So this has been your PSA for the day, if you will. So anyways. Bad dive. See you, Laramie. I should probably drink water, not soda, when I do these things. Switch it up, Sean. Charities secretly profiting certain entities or people on the down low is a problem all over. Yes, for sure. I see it all the time. Sometimes it's shady. Sometimes it's incompetence. For sure. Absolutely. Yep. Zero Theory. There's a website that shows the percent from charities. There's a charity watch site. I actually looked that up when we were doing some of the fundraising for the Houston flood years ago. We wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure, obviously, that we put the money to an organization that's going to do what's needed and has a good track record. So there's a charity watch site out there that I would definitely encourage each and every one of you that decides to give to a particular cause to research what that looks like, and do your research, do your due diligence, do what you feel is right. There you go. And that goes a level deeper, because not all TED Talks are legit, because TEDx sometimes give us money and you could talk. That may be true, Laramie, but I think that's with everything, dude. Like, why listen to me? Take what you find valuable and then leave what you don't, or be question things, right? Yeah, there's no way to really know the accounting rules of all business, Lots of ways to reinvest in the company to cover costs. But yeah, research. TED Talks, whatever. I found it intriguing because it wasn't saying, I wish I knew some of the details, but here's the thing. Even if it's wrong, if it made you think like, oh, that doesn't sound legit, at least you had heard it and, you're like, okay, I get it. But I get it. Found it interesting, nonetheless. I'm going to give a TED Talk on how TED Talks might not be truthful. I don't know what. Anyways, I didn't say they were all like, okay, granted, but it was. Let me rephrase that. If I read a blog article, would that make it any different? I read a blog article about charities and funding. Oh, but all blog articles are probably not factual either. I read a magazine. I saw it on TV. Anyways, I don't have anything else today. But what I'll do is I'll pull up recently arrived Kickstarter and maybe page through that and see. So we'll just do a quick page through. Because I have not paged through this yet. I started reading the box set stuff. And here we go. Well, this could be interesting. Okay. All right. Had to do some finagling. Yeah, baby. Blade Runner. So if you're not a fan of Blade Runner, then you'll probably not care about this. Or Year Zero Engine or Free League. This is a beta version. For those of you who are not familiar with some of Free League's products, many of them are powered by Year Zero Engine. The Year Zero Engine, in brief, is a set of D6 die pools, typically derived from skill, combination of skill, and the corresponding attribute. There's 4 attributes typically, and then there's probably 4 to 5 skills under each attribute, okay? So, for example, melee would be a skill, and melee is tied to strength. Right, not always. No always D6s these days? Not always, right? So that is what I just explained, and then you roll the die pool. It could involve gear, skill, in some games, gear, skills, and attribute. You roll those die sixes. 6s are successes, and 1s are banes. And 1s typically may not come into play unless you push your roll and re-roll. And you re-roll anything but 6s and 1s. You re-roll and you go through the same kind of evaluation. Now, having said that, it's changed there's been tweaks depending on the game. So the one I just explained has a little bit to do with Forbidden Lands, Alien, Mutant Year Zero, I think. And what else? Tales from Loop. I'm pretty sure. Each one has its own little tweak on the theme, right? Depending on the game. Twilight 2000 and Blade Runner, I believe. I'm only guessing with Blade Runner because I haven't read the rules, but I had heard it from like interviews. With Twilight 2000, the way it works is if you have an attribute, say it's strength, intelligence, wisdom, dex. Okay, just picking those out. Those aren't the right ones, but those are 4 attributes. And say those are attributes in Twilight 2000, they assign a letter grade to each one. In each letter grade, A, B, C, D, F, is a die type. So I think it's D6, D8, D10, D20, D12, D20. Yeah. Roll, it's same principle. You would roll the corresponding attribute. So it's not a pool in this case. It's the attribute might be A, and that A has a die type. And then your skill has a die type. No D20. Okay, thanks, Harrigan. So it goes from D6 to D12. Thank you. D6, D8, D10, D12. A, B, C, D. And so you take the 1 die from your attribute, the 1 die from your skill, and you roll, and I think it's anything above a 6. Right. You succeed. All right, so with Blade Runner, we're going to get into that, but I believe that's the same thing. Now with Blade Runner, through the interviews with some of the folks, like, I don't know, why not do another episode and say, hey, Third Floor Wars, Craig Shipman. He interviewed, did he interview on Blade Runner? I don't, maybe he didn't. I know the guys at What Does a Smart Party Do? Baz and Gaz, they interviewed the individual behind the creation of Blade Runner over at Free League, heading it up. It's a good interview. Go check it out if you wanted to know more about it and you haven't bought the game and you want to know some insight into it. So it's probably a little bit dated because I'm sure from that interview to the release of the beta, some things might have changed. But I think that the core fundamental and the principles of the game have probably stayed true because it's going to be based on investigating. Okay. Oh, and I forgot about Vaesen, by the way, speaking of investigating. Symbaroum is not Year Zero. One of the many games that has like 0 relevance to Year Zero engine. So this thing is, this is the beta. So this is going to probably change by the end. They did the same thing with Twilight 2000. Kickstarted it. They even did an alpha with Twilight 2000. Alpha came out, or they did an alpha right after the Kickstarter, sent it out to everybody and said, hey, here's what we had so far. So the nice thing about Free League and what I really appreciate is they're going to put out the game. They're just doing Kickstarter. I don't know if it would even, I don't know, what do they do if it fails? But they're going to put out the game. And they're probably now so confident in the Kickstarter model that they're going to know they're going to hit their funding goal. Then it's just a matter of how much. So if they hit their funding goal mentally, I would say internally, they're probably going, as long as we can raise $100,000, we're good. We can put out this product. Now, after we get done with the campaign, then we can determine how many we need to print. And that's directly correlated with how much money we have and what the demand is. And then build in like retail channels based on the Kickstarter. So maybe they say, hey, we raise $2 million. That allows us not to only put out the game and give the Kickstarter people their product and ship it and all this stuff, but it allows us to do a print run of X or Y, which allows us to get this amount of percentage of product into retail channels. If they do less, then they can do the same thing, but they put probably less into the retail channels. Only speculating here, would only make sense that that's kind of what they have in mind. Getting back to my point is that knowing that they are going to probably hit their Kickstarter and get it out in the retail channels, they're going to do it. So they've already started the game before they even do the Kickstarter. There's no way that they did all this. Maybe they did in the time that they kicked off the Kickstarter, because they got the license and then the Kickstarter was released months later. So they probably were starting to work on it even before then, which is great because there's some Kickstarters that seem to have a year turnaround. Like, good God, a year? Really? A year? Holy cow. Wow. Okay. And those Kickstarters aren't even big. And like, this is, I mean, I would say this is big. And I say big in size as in like, you know, layout and word count and what they're offering as far as a product goes and what they want to put out. So Blade Runner's putting out the core rulebook, it looks like, and a box set. I think they're calling the box set a starter set, even though it's not really a starter set. It's literally just a box set. It's a supplement. In the box set is kind of a neatly packaged kind of one shot. It gives you pre-gens. It gives you some cards. It gives you some scenario. See, I think I got the pad of paper to keep track is the game master. I forgot what the game master's called. And so it's a little like that may trip them up a little bit because in the interview that Baz and Gaz did on what would a smart party do, they were even kind of mulling over like what a starter kit is and what that should be like, which is an interesting conversation in itself. So anyways, my point is that they don't sit until the Kickstarter's done to start doing the product. And I don't know, a lot of Kickstarters might not, but I'll tell you what, these guys are farther along than a lot of other ones I've worked with. All right, so here's the deal. Here's the table of contents. So chapter 1, 2, 3, got it busted down by chapters and then what goes into each chapter. So Fiery, the Angels Fell, looks like just based on some of the details of looking at the way over this way. Got to point in the right direction. Is the setting stuff. Probably a little bit of the timeline. Your Blade Runner, which is probably creating the character that you're going to play, and then the skills and specialties. Right? Scroll down. 4, combat. Well, it says it underneath, right? Yeah, skills and specialties. Okay. Chapter 4, combat and chases. 5 is the Tale of Two Cities. My understanding is a majority of the game takes place in LA. Now, I've played Cyberpunk Red, where you've got Night City. We wanted to leave Night City, wanted to get out of town. Where do we go? Wow, there's no other town in the RPG. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, oh, everything's in LA. But LA is big enough, right? You're almost like, can you even get out of town, right? You just have to go under because it's probably big enough in 2035 that this takes place. We'll get to that. And then chapter 6 is the powers that be. Government agencies, special interests, media, Wallace Corporation, replicants. So some of the things that are going to be probably some of your adversaries or movers and shakers in your game. Chapter 7, work in the case. And these could all change, right? Work in the case. So the Rep Detect Unit, New Order, RDU divisions, Wallace resources, using LAPD resources, building a rep, standard procedure, working that crime scene. So this probably has to do with like scenario building, I'm guessing. Or what players and the GM does, I guess, kind of coming together. Tools of the trade, gear probably, and then running Blade Runner, which is probably the big game master section, right? Key themes, playing scene by scene, setting the mood, downtime. If they do half of what they did in Vaesen and how to set these up, this thing will be good to go. What's up, Orcus Dorcas? So it seems Blade Runner is a generalized term like Edge Runner for Cyberpunk and not named for Replicant Hunter. Perhaps. Redelic Matt Three Skulls Tavern wrote the solo rules in the back of Forbidden Lands Book of Beasts. He talked about how he had a word limit and his draft was double the requirement. He said that was a reality check. Huh. All right, so here's the preface by Thomas. And this is the gentleman who's overseeing the line, I'm sure. Talks about, I want to read that. Cool art, right? Talk about tone and feel, right? You know the source, pal. If you're not cop, you're little people. Here's the Blade Runner, how it's defined. Orcus. See also rep detect. Voigtkampf machine operator. Also butcher tanner trenchcoat slang. It's a colloquial nickname given to the specially trained human and replicant members of the police unit established to uphold and enforce UN regulations regarding the domestic use and abuse of replicants and other monitored entities and technologies deemed as public safety threats within Earth borders. Core Criminal Investigation Unit on Earth, solely authorized to identify and neutralize any human or synthetic threat presenting a danger to national security, public safety, and the integrity of Earth and the off-world colonial system. Here's the Rep Detect Unit, RDU, police officer in active duty from 2013 to 2027. Dang, talk about years, man. It's a problem with some of these science fiction things. Recruited from Earth's most elite law enforcement agency, these criminal investigators were specially trained in the use of the Voigtkampf machine and charged with identifying and eliminating any trespassing replicants illegally residing within Earth borders. After the UN Replicant Prohibition Act of 2023, Service Directorate was restructured to suppress all use of replicant technologies and retire any replicant within Earth borders upon positive identification. That same year, RDU responsibilities were further expanded to monitor and apprehend humans aiding and abetting in the obstruction of justice, including all the illegal trafficking of replicant fugitives and technologies. See Replicant Underground. Copyright 2036 of the New American Dictionary. All right. Tears in the Rain. I don't want to go through this page by page necessarily, just kind of flip through. I haven't played it yet. Just to see some of the kind of nuts and bolts of the game. Some of you have this. If you don't want spoilers, you want to read your own copy, well, you probably want to go and do that. Megacorp's Rise, Planets Fall. All right, Backbone in the Industry. Our Darkest Hour. Here it is. On the one tragic day in May 2022, an unidentified terrorist detonated an EMP in the LA stratosphere. That didn't happen. All right. Here's the timeline. Welcome to Los Angeles 2037. Okay, that's the year. Being a Blade Runner. Humans and Replicants. Key themes. So these are always the ones like I know it's going to be a big investigation game. So it'll be interesting how they frame that up. And I also heard, speaking of movies, is that they're really leveraging the movies. Blade Runner and the second one, which the second name escapes me, so I'd have to reread those. Let's see. So each player in this game, except one, takes the role of a Blade Runner in the LAPD Rep Detect unit. This is your player character. You decide what your character thinks and feels, what they do and say. We know what a character is, right? It's your job as a player to portray your character and imagine yourself in their boots
no matter if they are human or replicant, because one person during the game can play replicant. And I think that goes back to soul searching, moral conflict, right? Corporate intrigue. A lot of moving parts, right? As a Blade Runner, you're expected to follow orders, but that doesn't mean you can't bend or even break the rules. Sometimes you have to. The game runner. That's who the GM is, the game runner. We know what they do. You put obstacles in your in front of the player's path, challenging the PCs, forcing them to show what they're really made of. But it's not up to the game runner to decide what happens in the game, and above all, not how your story is supposed to end. That is why you are playing the game, to find out how your story ends. Like they frame it up pretty well in their philosophy in games, for sure. Some details about on safety at the table. They recommend safety tools, discussion. Okay. They cover that even in the book to some degree. Case files. So a case file, I think, it is a scenario, right? It's structured by case files, which are what they call scenarios or adventures for this game. So I'm going to run got a case file. Presents a case for Blade Runners to investigate, typically involving replicants in some way. The case file represents the backstory of the case, its main NPCs, main locations, the clues that can be found at each, and a suggested final confrontation. In the box set, they actually give you handouts too. So they mentioned like the utilization of a lot of handouts. So I think that's going to be a part of the game. Blade Runner 2049, thank you. The game runner goes run to get food. Ty, are you going to be here all weekend? So here it is. Handouts, maps, and mugshots. So a key aspect of case files are handouts, maps, and mugshots, pieces of evidence that the Blade Runners collect during their investigations. So there you go. So if you're going to run this and you're going to do it virtually, something to keep in mind. Can you do it without them? Maybe. Right? Hey, you have this handout. What is it? Much like we do anything when we're describing RPGs. You know, do you have something physical that you give it to them or virtual? You give them to them on a virtual tabletop. But so maybe something to consider when you're running this game. Map of LA. The Blade Runner RPG starter set includes a larger version of the map, LA map. That's another thing in the box. Measuring time. You cannot have an adventure without accurate timekeeping, right? So when working a case file, you're on the clock. If you fail to make progress in time, a bad situation will tend to get even worse. So that was another thing that Thomas, I think it's Thomas that was on that interview. So another thing Thomas made note of was, hey, you know, there's a time component to this game. And yes, most of us will say, well, there's time components in many games. Like, yes, but much more so in Blade Runner, right? Like it's going to impact the play. Clocks in Blades in the Dark, or powered Blades in the Dark, powered in the dark, forged in the dark games. Forged in the Dark games uses clocks, right? Typically. So again, here it is. Shifts. And frankly, in Forbidden Lands, we have quarters. So again, Free League, I'm telling you, man, part of me is like, I'm just going to set everything aside and just go all Free League. I bring this up because they tend to look at everything in their, I mean, they've got a chest, a war chest, and they look at it and go, okay, we've got this game, this game, this game, this game. What are we trying to facilitate in each one of these? How do we do that? We could use Year Zero Engine. Okay, does that work? Great. But does it work for this game? Do we need to tweak it? Sure. How do we tweak it? Well, we want to have a kind of a suspense kind of thing, right? So in Alien, how do we do that with this mechanic? But still keep it familiar to folks that understand Year Zero Engine. Okay, let's do this. Okay, great. How do we do how do we tackle this? So, well, there's a time component in Blade Runner. Well, there's a time component in Forbidden Lands. It's by quarters. How do we do? Maybe we could use some of that and put it in Blade Runner. Oh, that's a good idea. But should we do it like by quarters? Like it's just, and it just pull it out, and then they kind of mold it a little bit and put it in the game. So shifts, the main unit used to track time in this game is shift. There's morning, day, evening, night. Morning, day, evening, night. 4. This means a shift is typically about 6 hours, but the exact duration of a shift can vary. It's the game runner's job to keep track of time and determine when a shift is passed with the use of the rules and the case file. Time tracker. During investigations, use the time tracker sheet to record what locations you have visited during a particular shift. This way, you will easily see what shift you are on and be able to keep a record of where you have gone. You can find a time tracker at the end of this book. You can also download them from the Free League website, and the starter set has the time tracker. All right? Rounds. Intense combat and chase is rounds. A round's 5 to 10 seconds long. Okay, we covered rounds. Round hasn't changed from any other RPG, sounds like. Handouts, mugshots, splitting the party. Many RPGs, splitting the group of player characters is discouraged. Blade Runner is different. In this game, splitting the party is often the smart thing to do, and sometimes even necessary. What? We need to get we got to get rid of some of these tropes, man. We just do. God, splitting the party? Ugh. Just do it. And quit screwing the party over if they split up. All right, so there you go. Think about it. I remember in Delta Green, running a Delta Green game, and I was like, yeah, we all go to this person's house. Like all 5 of you? Really? How many FBI agents have ever showed up to your house that have been more than 5? I can tell you, I've never had more than 2. Case files will often have some form of timer counting down. And by splitting up, you can cover more ground. Right? So if you're keeping track of time and you split up, you're going to hit some of those things faster as things are counting down, right? Everybody on board with what's going on here? You guys seeing what's moving here? To avoid long waiting times for characters not in the scene, the game runner should frequently cut between scenes. So this is going to take some, hey, you got to, if you're a GM, game runner, if you will, much like any game, you really don't want to isolate anybody. And it's easy to do that, especially if you're splitting up the party. And you got people that are like, okay, I'm going to go and do this. And it's probably a little intensive. Hell, even if a combat breaks out with just that one person, you got to be able to like, okay, great. Let's roll for initiative. Okay, great. We'll be right back to that. Let me go over here quick to make sure you don't completely isolate the individual. It's easy to do. Most gamers, I've realized when that happens, are pretty good with it. Like, no, that's cool, man. Just go ahead. Finish that up. I'm good. I can wait. Great. But nonetheless, like I recently played a Delta Green game, Lou, feeling good, Lewis. Thanks, buddy. Ran a one shot. We got one guy that was kind of out on an island. Definitely conscious of that. It was tough. The player didn't mind. Right. I was one of the players that was kind of out of the action because we were kind of infiltrating something. And so the team kind of went in and I stayed back. I was kind of a hacker person. But as the hacker person, at least the handler, the GM, allowed me to do certain things that kind of could impact what the party was doing, which was eyes in the sky or, manipulating, camera systems and locks and things of that nature. As a matter of fact, if we didn't have microphones, which we didn't, we were doing it by text messaging. So literally in the game, I text messaged everybody what I saw and what was going on. So as the game master was narrating to the group or a person, I can do I see this? Do I hear this? If it's something that would be on video, then I can feasibly see that and I could text the whole group. And then the handler, which I really appreciated from Lou, was that he gave the rest bonuses on their rolls to be able to accomplish something, right? Because I'm informing them what's around the corner. Or I could tell them, stop, don't go any further. There's something around the corner. It's coming your way. You got to go down the hallway, quick run. It's taking the meta that people would already know and hear and actually put it in the game. I digress. Back to the subject. All right. Splitting the party. Encouraged. Okay. Here's the time units. Not a big deal. All right. Personal stories. You're also an individual with personal stories, drives, and memories and relationships. You can't be on the clock all the time. During downtime, which is typically at least one shift. Hey. Downtime, typically one shift. Forbidden Lands got these 4 quarters. You guys are going to have to make camp, probably cook food and do some things, and then you want to heal and rest. Could we do that in Blade Runner? Yeah, but in Blade Runner, they're not going to make camp. During downtime, which is typically at least one shift, you can rest at your home, hit a club, get drunk, or do whatever you need to clear your head and reset your system. Downtime recovers stress and damage. What? That sounds familiar. And also lets you explore your character's personal issues in more depth. Right? Okay. So healing, right? How do you heal? Rest. Rolling dice. Here we go. We're going to start getting into some mechanics. PvP. We'll get into PvP. Case files for this game often pose difficult moral dilemmas for the characters, and thus the players. Often the hardest challenge is not to solve the case, but to decide what to do when you know the truth. You can't handle the truth. Okay. It's perfectly fine. The part of the purpose of the game, however, you should be careful about stepping over the point of no return. Going into territory of all-out PvP. Often the point is going from verbal disagreement to physical. So they even talk about PvP in the game. So you can make that choice if you strongly feel it's the right one for your character, but don't do it flippantly, and be aware that it might lead to one of the characters or both needing to be replaced. Okay, interesting. First tabletop RPG. We won't get into that. Rolling dice. Here we go. It's going to be very much like Twilight 2000. Can tell you that already. The game uses polyhedral dice D6 to D12. When attempting something difficult, a player typically rolls 2 dice, right? 1 for the attribute, 1 for the skill. Hey. These 2 are called base dice. The more sides base dice, the better. Successes, any roll, 6 or higher. There you go. Look at that. Haven't even played it, I already know. If one success generally means that the attempt succeeds, a success is marked within the rules with the eye symbol. Like this eye symbol. A roll of 10 or higher on a die means 2 successes. There you go. The more successes you roll, the more effective your action is. Okay, there's a degree piece, right? Advantage. Under some circumstances, you get an advantage to your roll, which means you get a 3rd die to roll, counting all successes. Conversely, you can also get a disadvantage, which removes one of your base dice, the lower one. And the lower one, they mean not the result, but the actual smaller die, right? So if you're rolling a D8 and a D6, and you have disadvantage, you would remove the D6. Easy, simple. Any questions? Pushing. If you fail a base dice roll, you can push the roll. This means you get to re-roll the dice, but any one, number 1, rolled, appearing, when pushing will inflict stress or damage on you. Similar to Alien, I believe. I haven't played that one, but I think that's the case with Alien, right? You get stress. Could be wrong. Yeah, numerical rolls. Sometimes dice are also rolled for their numerical value, not as base dice. In this case, just read the numerical value on the dice and ignore any successes. Sometimes the rules will ask you to roll a D3. It means rolling a D6 and dividing the result by 2, rounding up. You get a set of dice in the starter set. And you can also get them separately for purchase. They got the eye symbols on them, but you can use any set. You know the deal. And then Oh, additionally, the one side of each custom die is marked with the origami symbol to mark stress or damage. Oh, nice touch. Nice touch. The origami symbol. You guys know that from the movie, right? Kick-ass art. More kick-ass art. Okay, so this is your Blade Runner character sheet. How to create 15 steps. Choose your role. Choose or roll, whether you're human or replicant. So maybe it doesn't matter. They say you got to have more than half the party being, maybe it doesn't matter. Choose a role for your Blade Runner archetype. For your years on the Force. So there is a life path piece in Twilight 2000, so maybe that's kind of touching on that a little bit. And age in Forbidden Lands, because in Forbidden Lands you have 3 age kind of categories, and then depending if you're very young, you don't get as many skill points, right? And then the older you do, you get more. Determine your attributes, calculate your health, and resolve ratings. Choose your skills. Choose or roll your starting specialties. Choose or roll your key memory. Choose or roll your key relationship. Get your standard issue gear. Choose or roll your signature item. Choose or roll your appearance. Choose or roll your name. Roll for your home or describe it yourself, and then get out of the mean streets. Into the mean streets. Pretty easy, right? Archetypes. Pretty interesting, right? Yeah, archetypes for human, archetypes for replicant. Oh, you're an analyst? Oh, you could be a replicant. Because but you can't be a city speaker if you're a replicant. Oh, so you're a city speaker? Okay, so you're not a replicant. Okay, I can see that coming into play. So archetypes for human, analyst, city speaker, enforcer, fixer, inspector, skimmer. Replicant cannot be a city speaker. Oh, it works both ways. So a human cannot be a doxy. Nope. And a replicant can't be a skimmer. Okay, interesting. So there's ones you can be for human and ones you can be for replicant. They're not all one for one. Okay, cool. Cool. See that? Why is my page so low? Okay, here we go. All replicant Blade Runners are rookies. Okay, so you're a rookie, huh? And you're an analyst, and you're a doxy. Oh, you're a total replicant. Archetypes are just helpful means of quickly creating a character that fits into the Blade Runner universe. If you prefer, you can create characters exactly as you want without using any archetypes. There you go. Just choose specialties freely and let the game runner decide how many. Yin points. Is that yin? Start with the game. Secret replicant, blah, blah. Heyo. There are reports of replicants that didn't know that they were not human. If you have a supposedly human character, you have the option to let the game runner roll a d6 in secret. If the roll comes up as success, you are actually a replicant without knowing it. Hee. This can be a Nexus B, Nexus 8, Nexus 9, or even some bootleg model depending on your age. Game runner should make note of this information to decide how and when to use it. Should your supposedly human character for any reason be revealed to be replicant, your health score is immediately increased by 2 and your resolve reduced by 2, as you only now realize your full physical potential and true nature. From this point forward, the other rules for replicants also apply. See pushing rolls. Ooh, so maybe as a replicant, you could push rolls more than once. Years on the Force. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rookie, seasoned, veteran, old timer. And then those increase or decrease things. Okay. Won't get into the details about that. Attributes, strength, agility, intelligence, empathy. Those are pretty standard year 0 engine. All right. And it goes A to D, just like Twilight 2000. So die types. Here's the die types: A, D12, B, D10. So yeah, you're going to see those on a sheet. It's going to be A, B, B, A, D, whatever. So A is extraordinary, B is capable, C is average. D's feeble. Starting attributes, health and resolve. Many times in Year Zero engine-based games, there aren't hit points. You take damage to your attributes, and then depending on the damage or the attribute you take damage, you become broken. If you're broken, then bad things start to happen. I imagine this is going to be the same case. So attributes determine how much physical damage and mental stress you can withstand. Your health equals the sum of the die size of your strength and agility divided by 4, rounding factions up. Your resolve equals the sum of the die size for your intelligence and empathy divided by 4, rounding up. There you go. It's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a formula. What? Replicants are designed to withstand physical punishment, so we get into those +2, -2 resolve and +2 to health. Okay, so they do have them a little bit separate, but they're derived from your attributes. Got it. Everybody good on that? Good, cool, sweet. When suffering stress in the game, your resolve rating will decrease. Most of the time, your resolve will be restored by some downtime. Some resolve loss can be permanent. Over the course of a longer campaign, your maximum resolve will drop. If it hits 0, your Blade Runner is no longer fit to serve and can react in drastic ways. You just snap. Get broke. Downtime and healing skills. Same with skills. It's talking about ABCD. Starting skill levels. Skill levels here. Same. Specialties. Specialties are tricks, moves, and minor abilities that give you a small edge. In Forbidden Lands, if you're familiar with that, would be talents. So you get some starting specialties. You get a number of specialties at the start of the game depending on how many years you have on the force. So if you're a rookie, you get less. If you're a more veteran, you get more. But you're also old. You choose any specialties you like, but your archetype offers you suggestions. So much like in Forbidden Lands, you pick a particular archetype, and you could pick from the general pool, or you have suggestions to pick the ones that are specifically tied to your archetype. If you're a rookie, you start the game without any specialties. What? And then you can learn specialties during the course of the game. Okay, key memory. Designing your key memory. Memories are an essential part of who you are, no matter if they are real or artificially engineered. Each player character in the Blade Runner has a key memory of some defining past, so it might be a dark secret if you're in Forbidden Lands, maybe. Your key memory is a focal point of your personality. It can be a powerful source of inspiration and perseverance. Once per game session, you can use your key memory in a skill roll to improve your chance to succeed. You need to explain how the memory helps you in the particular situation, but the game runner should be lenient. There you go. Like like I said, if you have familiar with some of these other Year Zero engine-based games, these are not hard to grok. Very similar. So, like, if you are not familiar with any of them, and I'm explaining it through Blade Runner right now, you'd be surprised at picking up something else, some of the similarities. Designing your key memory, evolving memories. And typically, once you use your key memory, then, let's see if I think you can redo it. So in Forbidden Lands, if you have a dark secret, you can use that. And then you have to go a session without one, and then you can have another one after the fact and recreate one. Generally, you will not change your key memory as it's a defining element of your character. However, if you find during play that your key memory no longer is relevant, you may replace it. There you go. Here's some of the tables. Key relationships. Most defining element character is their key relationship. NPC that any reason plays a big role in your life. It will typically be a living person, but it can be someone artificial, dead, or even fictitious, existing only in your design memories. It should not be another PC. It's used by the game runner to create events in the game. Interacting with your key relationship will earn you humanity points at the end of the session. Interesting. Bonds from Delta Green, anyone? Relationships can change. They will and should evolve over the course of the game. Relationship should not be replaced very often, but if you find during play that your key relationship is no longer relevant for any reason, replace it as long as the game runner allows it. Try to pick a new key relationship with someone you have met during play. Mechanically. You're allowed to re-roll. Oh, that's re-rolling a key relationship. That's just selecting it. Okay. Some random tables. Here's your gear. Signature item. It's connected to your memory, your key relationship, or both. By interacting with your signature item in some way, you can, once per game session, use it to immediately recover 1 point of stress. Chinian points are the money system, how much you start, carrying gear, standard issue, wrapping up, appearance, name, home, blah, promotion and humanity. Promotion points, probably like XP. It comes in two forms, promotion points and humanity points. Promotion points, do's and don'ts. Gaining promotion. You start the game with a number of promotion points depending on your years on the force. Replicant characters get one less, meaning they can start with 0. You can gain more during the course of the game. They are handed out by the game runner after each game session. Exactly what you are rewarded promotion points for is indicated by the case file you are playing. So each case file is going to have their own. Cool. Okay. Distinctions. You gain 3 or more. If you gain 3 or more promotion points in a single session, you could be awarded a distinction of Deputy Chief Holden by Deputy Chief Holden. Losing promotion points. If you're caught failing to perform your duties in some way, or your case receives negative exposure. Game runner could take away promotion points. Disciplinary action. So to use promotion points, you learn a new specialty of your choice by spending. It costs 5 promotion points. So learning a new talent, if you will. You can spend promotion points and roll for connection skill to request specialized gear from the LAPD or the use of department resources and facilities. Once per case file, you may roll for the connection skill to exchange 1 and only 1 promotion point for a Chinian point, representing pushing for a pay raise. Okay. Humanity points. Handed out by the game runner at the end of each session as well. But for performing acts of compassion or humanity, just like the promotion points specified by the case file. You can also be awarded humanity points if you, during the session, have used your key memory or interacted with it in some way. Have you used your dark secret? Yes. Okay. If you have interacted with your key relationship, yes. Get 1. Failed a baseline test. Replicants only. Mark your humanity points on your character sheet. Using them are more limited than promotion points, but they are very important. You can use them to increase your skill levels. To increase a skill 1 step costs a number of humanity points as indicated by the table below. So if you want to increase your die type, you could spend, so if you go to D for a D6 to a D8, spend 5. Because some of these, you bank these, right? If you want to go from a C, an 8D8 to a D10, then you got to spend 10 points, right? And then if you want to go from a D10 to a D12, you got to spend 15 points. Replicants at baseline tests. Interesting. Tools of trade. Oh. I won't touch on that yet. Analyst. So here's the archetypes. We'll just go through the names of them and what they are. I'm always nervous about doing flip throughs. Like, I don't know if the company likes it or not. Analyst. You are the master of the crime lab. Streetwise hunch chasers with their VK briefcases and blasters are the past. Book smart fact finders like you are the future. Chemistry, pathology, ballistics, criminology, microbiology, toxicology, morphology. That's the analyst. City speaker. Speak long enough to the city, it speaks back to you. You've got rats in every gutter, pigeons on every rooftop, urchin in every port. You lived and sinned with them since you were kids, so when you come round, they see only the face they trust. Doxy. Always know what to say. Body language, eye contact, vocal tones, body temperature, pulse rate, even scent. Every detail another window into your subject's state of mind. Earlier models used this data to serve a person's needs. You only serve the law. Now those same signals enable you to detect and project anything you want. Forcer. You've seen things most people wouldn't believe. Few tours in the off-world colonization defense program put you in every shit-tastic situation conceivable. Shit-tastic, yeah. Murder, kick squads, hostage situations, counterterrorism, demolitions. You survive them all only to find yourself unable to relate to anyone without a target in their sights. Fixer. Some call you a career politician, others a political crusader. You don't care what they think. You work the system and you never play nice, though everybody knows to play nice with you and not just to kiss up to their future boss. It's your job to keep saboteurs of the status quo at bay, may they come from outside or within. Inspector. Quintessential marshal, torn from the immemorial of trench coat wearing, liquor drinking, bullet slinging bastards and bulldozers who can strut into the meanest bar and darkest alley and everybody knows the law just walked in. I wonder what will appeal to most of them. Most gamers. And means business. As a walking Voight-Kampf machine, he made a career out of pushing people's buttons and getting to the core of who or what they really are. Skimmer. Everybody but you knows what you're more that you're more Kipple than cop. There's so much dirt on your nails. Getting clean is an act of futility, naivete. Screw them. Let them talk. If Internal Affairs could get you, they'd have cuffed you by now. Fact is, they need you. Sure, there's more cream than caffeine in your cup. Skimming is a slippery slope, and few would call you graceful. Skills. Won't go into the skills. Ah. 6 or higher to roll for success, right? Yeah. And then a roll 10 or higher will get you 2. Critical, if you roll 2 or more, your base dice combined, you have achieved a critical success. You reach your stated goal. Multiple successes, okay. Yeah, okay. The art of failure, pushing your roll. You can only push rolls when you actively perform an action. When passive or unaware, for example, when rolling observation to see if you spot a sneaky enemy, you cannot push the roll. What pushing means depends on what skill you're using. It could take the form of great physical exertion, total mental focus, or emotional strain. Replicants work a little differently than humans when pushing dice rolls in 2 very important ways. Replicants always suffer stress instead of damage when pushing dice rolls and rolling failures, even when rolling for strength or agility. Replicants can push a roll twice, not just once. So I guess in the short scheme of things, you might know that they're a replicant. Out of game? I'm going to push again. Oh, you're a replicant. You get to push twice. Oh, okay. Group roles, advantage, disadvantage, key memories. Some of these have been kind of hashed out. Gear. The skills, they talk about the skills a little bit in detail. All right, what they do, we'll go into those. Specialties: bodyguard, cash flow, controlled, counselor, fast reflexes, gearhead, gutter rat, hardened, hip flask, protected, people person, origami, musician. These will all give you certain things to your rolls, negate things, give you advantages, blah, blah, blah. It's not, that's one page. That's it. Combat and chase, zones and ranges is probably very similar. Forbidden Lands has arm's length, near, short, and long. Maps and zones, leaving the map, borders, line of sight. So here, range categories: engaged, right next to you, short, medium, long, extreme. So, okay, a little bit more fundamental. Playing without maps, theater of the mind, could do that. Zone features. So these things can be put into zones, so it's like cluttered, dark, cramped, and then obviously it does certain things, right? Provides penalties. Rounds and initiative, drawing initiative. Well, here we go. What do we do in initiative? 10 initiative cards. Okay, same as Forbidden Lands. The lowest goes first. And then you go in order. Some talents, some of those specialties will probably allow you to take more than one card for initiative. Exchanging initiative, you can exchange. That's pretty standard for some of your 0-1s. So you can change. This must be declared on your turn before you perform any action. The other character cannot resist this exchange and must take their turn immediately. Doesn't say like you have to see them. The other character cannot resist this exchange. I'm like behind this thing right here. The other character is not allowed just to immediately exchange their initiative when just given a new one. They may, however, exchange this a new initiative in the following round. Hidden initiative, alternate rule, creates uncertainty. Oh, the game runner calls out initiative number starting at 1, and each combatant shows their card and performs their actions once their number comes up. In this variant, the initiative must be drawn again at the start of each round. So typically it's fixed once the initiative's done. You could do it round by round and do it revealing one after the other, so you don't know who's going to go when. Interesting. Your turn, making initiative or marking initiative. Got free action, so you got action economy, so you have free actions, NPC group actions, helping others, movement. Oh, interesting. Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. On your turn, you can perform one action and one move. An action is typically a skill roll, and a move is typically one zone of horizontal movement. See the list of typical actions on the next page. Other actions can be listed in a case file or suggested by yourself with the game runner's approval. When it's your turn to act, simply state what action and move you wish to perform and roll dice if needed to see if you're successful. You have some free actions: dropping to the ground, standing up, taking cover, or shouting a few words. They don't count. Interesting. So in Forbidden Lands, you have fast and slow, and you can do those at different times. You don't have to take either of those on your turn. So in other words, you can be attacked and choose to do a fast action because you're being attacked. And then when it's your turn, you can only do what's left, which is your slow action. In this, it looks like you can just kind of, that's what you get. A movement and a move and an action. Close combat, range combat, resolution, full auto fire, called shots, critical hits. If you roll 2 successes, you inflict a critical injury on your target, and the damage is inflicted is increased by 1. Damage, broken by damage. So they do use broken. If you drop to 0 health, you're broken. Being broken is not fatal in itself. Only critical injuries can actually kill you. Downtime and recovery, critical injuries. If you roll a critical success on an attack roll, you inflict a critical injury. Determine the critical injury, roll a crit die of the weapon used in the attack, and look up the effect in the table for crushing or piercing damage. Severe crits. Rolling lots of successes gives you control over which critical injury you cause. This is behind me. For each success rolled beyond what you need to trigger a critical injury, you get to roll an additional crit die of the same type and choose the result you prefer. Death. Handling death. Stabilizing crits. Healing crits. Critical injuries. Crushing. Teeth knocked out. Broken nose. Broken fingers. Gouged eye. Cracked ribs. Concussion. Broken leg. Broken. Crushed skull. Instant death on a success at 12. Die roll 12. Crushed skull. Lethal? Yes. Death save? No. Healing save? No. Instant death. Critical injuries, piercing. Roll 12, shattered head. Instant death, permanent. Okay, there you go. Stress. From stressful situations, the game runner determines the stress factor of the event. From 1 to 3, typically, then you make a roll for insight. Each success rolled eliminates 1 point of potential stress. You can push the roll, but at the risk of suffering even more stress if you get any failures on the reroll. Interesting. Okay. Stress factors. Being interrogated, facing a person from your key memory, witnessing a massacre, broken by stress. If you've suffered stress equal to or in excess of your resolve rating, you are broken by stress and suffer a critical stress effect. Immediately roll 1 base die corresponding to your empathy. On the table, there's a table for humans and 1 for replicants. The effects last until you have recovered at least 1 point of resolve. So, die roll, 6+ shakes. Me too. You get the shakes, bad ones. You can continue to function, but with a disadvantage to all skill rolls, and no rolls can be pushed. Replicant, 6+, twice as bright. The stress pushes you forward to perform an extraordinary feat. You gain a bonus action that you can perform immediately, breaking the initiative order. You gain an advantage to the roll after the action. See result number 2 above. Time to die. You lose the will to live. You simply collapse to the ground. Just can't force yourself to do anything at all, even to the point of putting your own life in jeopardy due to your inaction. Pulling yourself together. Cool. Fire, drowning, vehicle combat. Vehicles in combat. Damage to vehicles. Repairs. Chases. Getting the thing here. Chase maneuvers. Block, pursue, flee, cut off, stand and shoot, other, hide. Multiple participants, chase obstacles. I'm going to have to go break up my cats. Firing from vehicles. Tale of Two Cities. We won't go into this. Law and Order. So some of the details of the setting. I think I covered a lot of it. Hopefully you got a lot of details about the Blade Runner RPG. If you're not interested in this, then, well, that's okay. I'll stop paging through it. You have to check it out. Oh, system matter. Don't tell Brett. I'm going to hang it up. Been up there for 2.5 hours. So hopefully you get some good insight into the Blade Runner game. Did I miss any questions? What's going on here? La 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 la. Who's going to run Blade Runner anytime soon? Does a shift affect what you can do and not do? A shift effect. I don't know. Do not split up. So if you want to be involved in the action, because if you're not there, then you have no say, or can say what can happen. Most of the times people don't split the party because they're afraid of getting waxed. I agree, Harrigan. COC, Delta Green. It's just like, what does it make sense? Like if you're in D&D, we've been programmed not to split the party. There's even podcasts named after it. But investigative games, I mean, not everything you open a door is going to, inflict damage to you. And I haven't looked into the time thing, but I think that's important. And probably looking at a case file will give me an idea of how that's run, like time-wise and what happens. Because I think what they probably do is at certain time, things start kicking in. So if the party's not, hey, if they haven't gotten to here, this is what happens. If they haven't gotten to here, by this time, this is what happens. God bless it. I'm going to kill my cat. Just hold on 1 second so I can split these guys up. All right. Sorry about that. Noodles. Battlestar Galactica board game's awesome. That's a great game for doing Cylons. I do have goats. Anyways, I think I'm caught up. Yeah, I know. It's my stupid cats, man. One of my cats is beating up the other one. Pisses me off. Does it just to get attention. Of course, then I come running and do whatever he needs just to break it up. Spray him with vinegar. Loves that stuff. Anyways, little bugger. That's all I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully a little bit better with some more gaming stuff, right? Monday the 27th is the last episode of Gaming and BS. go to gamingnbs.com/YouTube. There's a video that's queued up. I think you can set a notifier. Just click on notify me. And then we'll go live at 8 p.m. Central Time, fielding 120 some questions from folks like yourself. And then we'll sail into the sunset. And then after the show, we'll probably have a wrap party. We'll get together on, I don't know how I'm going to do that, Zoom or Discord. And probably hang out for an hour, maybe. And then that's it for that. Let's see, what else? Game Master Mastermind. If you haven't checked out that show, it's quite a bit different from Gaming MBS. I know it won't be everybody's cup of tea. Dropped 2 episodes so far, professional game mastering, as well as kind of resources GMs can explore to keep up on their game. And maybe outside of just blogs and podcasts. The next one to drop is going to be on session 0, where I have Kimmy from Happy Jacks and Golden Lasso Games. And then I have Senda from Panda's Talking Games, and she's a super geek. And then Jared Rasher from whatdoiknowjr.com on the show. Talking about session 0. I've got one queued up for horror and suspense. I won't mention the people in case they change, but a couple individuals that have run some horror games and worked in horror game publishing. And then duet gaming, I have one set up for that, and also setting up one for session prep. So it's, if you're not familiar with the podcast, it is the goal is to bring people on as members of the Brain Trust to talk about the topic of the episode in order to provide different angles, perspectives, backgrounds, experiences to the topic of discussion. So it's not a knock on Brett and myself and some other podcasts, but it just changes from episode to episode. It's a little bit of variety. Brett and I did it for 7 years, but it's just Brett and I talking about our own kind of thing, unless, of course, we had help from the community that said, hey, I don't agree with you guys, and then we read that. But this show is a little bit different in that regard. So check that out at gmmastermind.com and subscribe over there if you find it to your liking. Otherwise, I think I wrap it up with listing some folks that have supported, that are supporting this particular endeavor on how to RPG, to include Eric Salzuito, Jeff Wacklin, Ghost GM, Aaron Ralia, Matthew Helsby, Eileen Barnes, Laramie Wall, Farty McButterpants, Harrigan, Huscarl, Larry Hollis, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Merker Froelich, Zagrave, and Joe Swick. Thank you so much for supporting me. I know all these endeavors. I really appreciate it. So with that, I'll leave you off with be a positive force in the tabletop RPG hobby. Game on, and have a great rest of your day or week. See ya.